Under the dim light of dawn, a high priest stands before a gathering crowd, his hands raised to the sky as he invokes the gods. Beneath him lies a ceremonial altar, where the community's offering will soon be made, a poignant reminder of their dependence on divine favor. This scene, played out across various cultures, from the misty peaks of the Andes to the vast plains of Mesopotamia, encapsulates a practice that is old as civilization itself: the blood sacrifice. Why did our ancestors feel compelled to offer such profound tokens of life to their gods? What was it about the act of sacrifice that resonated so deeply across different civilizations, and how has this ancient ritual shaped our modern understanding of faith, morality, and communal belonging? From the ancient Mayans to the early civilizations of the Nile Valley, each society adapted the concept of sacrifice to fit its own cosmologies and needs. These acts, though varied in method and meaning, all shared a common purpose: to bridge the divine and the mortal, to secure prosperity, and to restore cosmic balance. Join us as we journey through time and across continents to unravel the mysteries of blood sacrifices in Bible stories that grow your faith. From the primal rituals of early tribes to the symbolic offerings of today's world, we explore the evolution of one of humanity's most enduring spiritual practices. Before we delve deeper into the past, remember to subscribe to our channel, Bible Stories That Grow Your Faith. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on our series as we explore the profound impact of these ancient rites on contemporary spirituality. Like this video, share it with friends, and join us in uncovering the layers of meaning behind the act of sacrifice. As we peel back the layers of history, we'll discover not only the reasons behind these rituals, but also the emotional and psychological impacts they had on societies. From the dramatic tales in biblical scriptures to the intricate depictions in classical art, and through to the abstract reflections in modern philosophy, the theme of sacrifice challenges us to consider the essence of devotion and the price of piety. Prepare to explore tales of devotion where faith was proven by the fires of sacrifice, and to question how these ancient practices inform our current beliefs. What can we learn from these rituals, and how do they still resonate in the collective consciousness of our global village today? Stay with us as we trace the bloodlines of spiritual sacrifice through the annals of history, examining how this sacred act has morphed but endured, echoing the deepest hopes and fears of humanity across ages. Part 1. The Origin of Sacrifices. Since the dawn of time, humanity has looked to the heavens for answers, offering sacrifices as a bridge between the earthly and the divine. But why did early civilizations feel compelled to offer blood sacrifices? What was the profound meaning behind these rituals that spanned cultures and epochs? In every corner of the world, ancient civilizations practiced some form of sacrifice. From the peaks of the Andes to the plains of Mesopotamia, blood was often seen as a potent symbol of life and death, an offering intended to appease gods, seek favors, or divine the future. Genesis 4:3-5 tells the story of Cain and Abel, where Abel's offering of the firstborn of his flock was looked upon with favor by God, unlike Cain's offering of produce. This story not only illustrates the preference for blood sacrifices in ancient times, but also sets a precedent for the complexities surrounding sacrificial acts. Blood sacrifices were common across various ancient cultures, each with its own rituals and significances. The Egyptians offered animal blood to honor their gods and preserve the pharaoh's strength. The Greeks performed hecatombs, large-scale sacrifices to seek favor from the gods during times of war and peace. These practices underline a universal belief in the necessity of offering life to sustain or enhance another life, spiritually or materially. Reflective lessons. This ancient practice teaches us about the value early humans placed on life and their willingness to part with something so vital in the hope of a greater good. It reflects a universal longing for connection with the divine, a plea for protection, prosperity, and peace. Think about the things you sacrifice in your daily life. What do you offer in hopes of gaining something greater, be it in relationships, career, or personal growth? How do these sacrifices mirror or differ from the ancient practices of blood sacrifice? How does the story of Cain and Abel shape our understanding of what is considered a worthy sacrifice? What parallels can you draw between ancient sacrificial practices and modern spiritual or religious offerings? In what ways do our modern sacrifices reflect our values and what we hold sacred? How do they impact our spiritual lives and relationships with others? Part 2. The significance of blood in sacrifices. In many ancient traditions, blood was more than a mere symbol. It was considered the essence of life itself. Today we delve deeper into why blood specifically became the central element in sacrificial rituals across different cultures and what it tells us about humanity's early spiritual beliefs. From the earliest records, blood has been venerated as the lifeline of creatures, embodying vitality and life force. Its use in sacrifices was believed to have the power to renew, purify, and sanctify both individuals and communities. Leviticus 17:11 provides a crucial understanding from the scriptures. For the life of a flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you on the altar to make atonement for your souls, for it is the blood that makes atonement by the life. This verse encapsulates the essential role of blood in mediating the relationship between God and humanity, highlighting its deep spiritual significance. Across the globe, from the Maya who practiced bloodletting as a form of royal communication with the gods, to the Vikings who offered animal blood to honor their deities and ensure prosperity, blood stood as a universal offering imbued with deep spiritual significance. These practices, though varied in method and meaning, all recognized blood as a powerful conduit for spiritual exchange and communal purification. Reflective lessons. The recurring theme of blood as a vehicle for atonement in many cultures suggests a shared intrinsic understanding of blood as fundamentally linked to the sacredness of life and death. This connection highlights our ancestors' recognition of the cycle of life and the need to honor that cycle through their most vital substance, blood. Reflect on modern symbols or practices that might parallel the ancient use of blood in terms of significance and sanctity. How do we today represent life, sacrifice, or renewal in religious or cultural rituals? Why do you think so many different cultures have independently placed such a high value on blood in their sacrificial rituals? How does the use of blood in ancient sacrifices reflect broader themes of life, death, and rebirth? In what ways can understanding these ancient practices deepen our current spiritual or moral perspectives? Part 3. Transition from blood sacrifices to symbolic offerings. As civilizations evolved and spiritual understandings deepened, the harsh practice of blood sacrifices gradually gave way to more symbolic forms of offering. Today, we explore how and why many cultures transition to these symbolic sacrifices and what this evolution reveals about human progress in understanding the divine. In the wake of evolving religious philosophies and increased emphasis on ethical practices, many ancient traditions found new ways to express the essence of sacrifice, focusing on the surrender of personal desires and the pursuit of spiritual purity rather than the offering of animal lives. An important scriptural milestone in this transition is reflected in Hebrews 9:22, which states, "Indeed, under the law almost everything is purified with blood, and without the shedding of blood there is no forgiveness." Yet, the same text later introduces the concept of Christ's sacrifice once and for all, obviating the need for continued bloodshed and setting the stage for symbolic offerings in Christianity. This shift is not unique to Christianity. In Buddhism, the practice of animal sacrifice was replaced by offerings of incense, flowers, and food, reflecting the religious emphasis on nonviolence and compassion. Similarly, in Hinduism, while animal sacrifice still exists, many adherents choose symbolic offerings like coconuts or ghee, representing the animal. These changes across various belief systems highlight a global evolution from tangible to more ethereal forms of devotion, mirroring an increasing societal preference for nonviolence and symbolic spirituality. Reflective lessons. The transition from blood sacrifices to symbolic offerings marks a significant development in human spiritual expression. It reflects a broader understanding of sacrifice, one that emphasizes internal spiritual growth over external rituals, mirroring a global shift towards a more introspective and ethically oriented religious practice. Reflect on the nature of sacrifice in your own spiritual or religious life. How do the symbolic acts in your faith tradition serve to purify, renew, or transform you and your community? How have symbolic sacrifices within your faith influenced your personal spiritual practices? What do these symbolic offerings represent, and why are they seen as an adequate substitute for more ancient forms of sacrifice? In what ways can these transitions in sacrificial practices be seen as a reflection of moral and ethical growth within societies? Part 4. Sacrificial Practices Across Cultures. As we have seen, the act of sacrifice transcends individual cultures and religions, weaving a complex tapestry of spiritual expression across the globe. Today, we explore the sacrificial practices of ancient civilizations to uncover their universal themes and distinct characteristics. Though the form and focus of sacrifices might differ vastly from one civilization to another, the underlying intent, to appease, to thank, or to connect with the divine, often shares surprising similarities. Exodus 29:18 describes the burning of an entire ram on an altar as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. This concept of a pleasing aroma is echoed in cultures worldwide, where the sensory experience of sacrifice connects the physical to the spiritual. Let's delve deeper into the practices across different cultures. In the Americas, the Aztecs performed human sacrifices to ensure the sun would rise each day, seeing it as essential to their cosmic duties. The ancient Greeks, during the Olympic Games, would sacrifice animals seeking divine favor for the athletes and peace among the city-states. In the Vedic traditions of ancient India, fire rituals called yajas involved offerings of ghee and grains to sustain the order of the universe and bless the community. Reflective lessons. These practices, though varied, reflect a universal aspect of human nature, the desire to influence and interact with the unseen forces of life. Each culture's approach to sacrifice reveals its worldview and its spiritual priorities. Consider how the practice of giving up something valuable as a form of sacrifice appears in your own cultural or religious background. What similarities do you find with the practices described? What can the reasons behind different cultures' sacrificial practices tell us about human concerns and hopes in ancient times? How do these varied practices reflect the relationship between humanity and the divine across different cultures? In what ways do modern practices in various cultures retain echoes of these ancient rituals? Part 5. The End of Blood Sacrifices. As humanity's understanding of spirituality has deepened, the once widespread practice of blood sacrifices has largely given way to symbolic or spiritual expressions of devotion. This shift from the tangible to the abstract reflects profound changes in theological thought and spiritual practices across cultures. This evolution can be seen as a movement from external to internal forms of devotion, focusing on moral and spiritual growth rather than physical offerings. This transition has not only changed how rituals are performed, but has also influenced the underlying spiritual and ethical messages conveyed through these practices. Christians view the death of Jesus Christ as the ultimate sacrifice, making previous blood offerings obsolete. Hebrews 10:10 articulates this transformation, and by that will we have been sanctified, through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once for all. This pivotal shift from repeated blood sacrifices to a single definitive act underscores a broader theological transition towards redemption through spiritual and ethical living. In other religious traditions, similar transitions highlight a global shift. For example, during Eid al-Adha, Muslims reflect on Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son as a test of faith, which is commemorated not through human sacrifice, but through the symbolic slaughter of livestock, where the meat is shared among family, friends, and the needy to promote charity and community cohesion. In Hinduism, many practitioners now opt for offerings of fruits, flowers, and milk during rituals like puja, emphasizing reverence and purity over animal sacrifice. Reflective lessons. These changes signify a maturation of spiritual practices, focusing more on the intentions behind and the ethical implications of religious observances. It suggests a global trend toward a spirituality that values personal integrity, communal harmony, and moral responsibility over ritualistic practices. Reflect on the symbolic sacrifices present in your faith tradition. Consider how these embody the spiritual values of your community. What personal sacrifices do you make that reflect these deeper theological shifts? How do these actions shape your personal spiritual journey and your relationships within the community? How does the cessation of blood sacrifices in your religious tradition reflect broader changes in theological and ethical thinking? What does the transition from physical to symbolic sacrifices suggest about the evolving relationship between humanity and the divine? In what ways can you personally contribute to these evolving practices of sacrifice in your own life and community? Contemplate how these changes in sacrificial practices can inspire personal and communal spiritual growth. Share your thoughts below. And if you found this discussion enlightening, please like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the evolving world of spiritual practices. Part 6. The Psychological Impact of Sacrificial Rituals. Throughout history, sacrifices have not only been physical acts, but have also played significant roles in shaping psychological and communal dynamics. Today, we delve deeper into how these rituals have helped to forge community identity, alleviate anxiety, and enforce social hierarchies. Sacrificial rituals often provided participants with a sense of control over unpredictable elements such as weather, health, and prosperity, By engaging in these practices, communities felt they could influence supernatural forces and secure a desired outcome, thus reducing feelings of uncertainty and powerlessness. Anthropologically, these rituals can be seen as early forms of psychological therapy, allowing individuals to externalize their fears and anxieties into a structured communal activity. This process helps to mitigate personal and collective anxieties, reinforcing a sense of control and predictability in an unpredictable world. In the Bible, the practice of sacrifices often brought the community together, reinforcing social bonds and collective purpose. Leviticus 16 describes the Day of Atonement, a time when the entire community of Israel participated in fasting and sacrifice, marking a collective pursuit of purification and renewal. From a social psychological perspective, these communal rituals serve to reinforce group norms and values, effectively aligning individual behaviors with community expectations. The shared experience of sacrifice strengthens group identity and can enforce social cohesion, which is vital in maintaining order and unity within societies. Reflective lessons? Beyond their religious or spiritual significance, sacrificial rituals also served to manage emotions within a community. They provided a structured way to express and process feelings of guilt, grief, and gratitude, often leading to psychological relief and renewed social harmony. Think about a modern equivalent in your community where people come together to express or celebrate shared emotions, perhaps a memorial service, a national holiday, or a community festival. How do these events compare to ancient sacrificial rituals in terms of psychological impact? How do ritualistic practices provide psychological comfort or relief in your culture? Can the act of sacrifice in a communal setting influence individual behaviors and societal norms? What are the modern forms of sacrifice, and how do they fulfill similar psychological needs as ancient rituals? Part 7. Sacrifice and Modern-Day Spirituality. In today's world, the concept of sacrifice takes many forms, transcending the ancient act of bloodletting to embrace more metaphorical or spiritual expressions. This part examines how these modern interpretations of sacrifice reflect our ongoing spiritual evolution and contemporary values. While we no longer adhere to the literal sacrifices of our ancestors, the essence of sacrifice, giving up something of value for a greater good, remains a powerful component of many spiritual and ethical systems around the world. In the Christian tradition, Romans 12 verse 1 urges believers to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, which is your spiritual worship. This metaphorical shift from physical to living sacrifices highlights a broader, more personal commitment to spirituality that transcends religious rituals. Similarly, in other religions, the focus is also shifted towards acts of charity, meditation, fasting, and ethical living as forms of sacrifice. For instance, in Buddhism, the concept of dana, or generosity, is a fundamental practice where giving is seen as a way to purify and transform the mind, away from greed and towards a state of liberation. Reflective lessons. Modern-day sacrifices often involve choices that promote personal and communal well-being, echoing ancient purposes, but in ways that align with contemporary ethical standards and spiritual insights. These sacrifices can be seen in everyday decisions, such as choosing sustainability over convenience or community service over personal gain. These acts reflect a sophisticated understanding of sacrifice as an integral part of personal development and societal improvement. Think about the ways you make sacrifices in your daily life. What do you give up, and what do you gain? How do these choices reflect your spiritual beliefs or ethical values? How do modern forms of sacrifice compare to historical practices in terms of their purpose and impact? What role does sacrifice play in your spiritual or religious community today? How can personal sacrifices lead to greater spiritual fulfillment or societal benefit? Consider examples like reducing personal consumption for environmental reasons or engaging in volunteer work. Part 8. Sacrifice in Literature and Art. Sacrifice has been a powerful motif in literature and art throughout history, offering profound insights into the human condition and the complexities of moral and ethical dilemmas. Today we explore the rich tapestry of sacrifice as depicted by artists and writers, revealing themes of love, duty, and redemption. Sacrifice transcends time and culture, depicted through the dramatic decisions of mythical heroes and the quiet, everyday choices of unsung characters. Through these narratives and depictions, artists and authors challenge us to consider what truly constitutes a meaningful sacrifice. Caravaggio's The Sacrifice of Isaac not only portrays the emotional intensity of Abraham's tested faith, but also captures the moment of divine intervention, highlighting the tension between divine command and human moral judgment. In literature, Shakespeare's King Lear delves deep into the theme of sacrifice through Cordelia's unwavering loyalty and eventual tragedy, exploring the devastating consequences of personal sacrifice and familial duty. In the epic Mahabharata, the character Karna is known for his monumental sacrifices. His choice to give away his armor and earrings to Indra, despite knowing this act would lead to his downfall, embodies the extreme selflessness that sacrifice often demands. These stories from different cultures reflect universal values of courage, loyalty, and the profound costs associated with moral integrity. Reflective lessons. These artistic and literary portrayals not only reflect societal values, but also shape them by offering different perspectives on sacrifice. They compel us to reflect on the essence of sacrifice and its role in defining our moral and ethical landscapes, prompting a deeper understanding of our own values and actions. Consider a piece of art or literature that has profoundly impacted your view on sacrifice. What emotions did it evoke? How did it challenge or change your perceptions of what one should give up for a greater cause? How do portrayals of sacrifice in art and literature mirror the societal values at the time they were created? What can these artistic and literary works teach us about the nature of sacrifice and redemption in our own lives? How does the theme of sacrifice in art and literature influence contemporary discussions about morality and ethics? Part 9. The Future of Sacrificial Concepts. As we look toward the future, the concept of sacrifice continues to evolve, influenced by rapid technological advances and shifting global perspectives. Today, we explore potential future trends in sacrificial practices and how they might continue to shape our ethical and spiritual lives. Technological advancements are increasingly intersecting with spiritual practices, transforming the ways in which we perceive and enact sacrifice. From digital fasting and conscious tech use to using virtual reality for immersive spiritual experiences, our future sacrificial practices may look vastly different from anything we've known. In the realm of artificial intelligence, we are beginning to see algorithms designed to make ethical decisions, potentially sacrificing individual benefits for greater societal good. These AI systems could be used in everything from environmental conservation to healthcare distribution, prioritizing communal well-being over individual gain. As global issues like climate change and economic inequality intensify, the concept of sacrifice becomes central to discussions about sustainability and social justice. Future generations may redefine sacrifice not just as a religious act, but as a necessary component of ethical living, such as reducing carbon footprints, sharing technological resources, or altering consumption habits to preserve the planet for future generations. Reflective lessons? The future of sacrifice may involve more conscious choices about how we consume resources, engage with technology, and share our lives with others. These decisions will likely be informed by a blend of ancient wisdom and modern insights, reflecting our ongoing quest to balance personal desires with communal needs. Consider how you might incorporate futuristic concepts of sacrifice into your daily life. What sacrifices might we need to make to ensure a sustainable and equitable world? How can technology help us achieve these goals? Imagine how blockchain technology could enhance transparency in charitable donations, or how sharing economy principles might reduce waste and increase access to resources. What role will technology play in shaping our understanding of sacrifice in the future? How might our personal sacrifices evolve in response to global challenges? What new forms of sacrifice could emerge as society and technology continue to evolve? Consider the potential impacts of gene editing, space colonization, or synthetic biology on our concepts of ethical sacrifice. Final part. As our exploration comes to a close, we've journeyed across epochs and civilizations, witnessing the diverse manifestations of sacrifice, from the primal, blood-soaked altars of ancient temples to the symbolic acts of giving that shape our moral landscape today. Each story, artifact, and ritual we've uncovered reveals a fundamental truth about human nature: the impulse to transcend, to connect, and to commit to something greater than oneself persists, a testament to the enduring power of sacrifice. Throughout history, sacrifice has served as a vital tool for spiritual expression and community building. It has satiated deep spiritual needs, fostered unprecedented social cohesion, and enabled both individuals and communities to confront and harness their deepest fears and desires. As we have seen, although the forms and expressions of sacrifice have dramatically evolved, the core principles of relinquishment, devotion, and renewal remain steadfastly integral to our collective quest for meaning and purpose. We now invite you to reflect on the role of sacrifice in your own life. How do you perceive these ancient practices in today's context? What are you willing to give up for the greater good? How can the profound lessons gleaned from past sacrifices enhance your personal and communal practices today? Join the dialogue below and share your thoughts and reflections. How do these age-old themes of sacrifice resonate within our modern world? What parallels do you see in your community? What modern sacrifices do you find most meaningful, and why? If this journey through the intricate history and evolution of sacrifice has enlightened or inspired you, please subscribe to Bible Stories that grow your faith. Don't forget to like and share this video to help others discover these profound stories. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on our upcoming explorations into the mysteries of faith and morality. Continue to delve into the stories of your own faith community or philosophical tradition to uncover the sacrifices that have shaped them. Let these historical insights inspire you to participate in or initiate acts of sacrifice and charity. These actions can transform not just individual lives, but entire societies, echoing the transformative power of the sacrifices we've explored.